Now I would like to welcome Professor Janani Sri Muralidharan of the Mechanical Engineering Department of IIT Bombay. She has been leading the OpenFOAM team of FOSSEE all these days.
So I'll just pick up from where Professor Khan left. The fact that we are coming up with new initiatives, which is one of this industry advisory board. So I would like to explain the journey briefly and the philosophy of why we are here at this point, right? So when I took over 5 years ago, that was just when roughly Atmanirbhar was really taking off. Most of the industry was now being opened up in the sectors of defense, space technologies, and there was a real thrust that Indian talent has to go forward and develop the upcoming technologies, and we are completely self-reliant and not dependent. So that thrust came to FOSSEE as well, which is playing a big role in helping students, the next future generation of engineers, be equipped enough for this call that the nation has for them. Okay, and OpenFOAM very quickly became the front runner. As several people mentioned here, there are several softwares. So why did FOSSEE opt for OpenFOAM? Why did we invest in OpenFOAM, right? So there are certain capabilities of OpenFOAM which kind of serve the purposes for students to quickly get trained, but also for industry to utilize this talent and do cutting throat or cutting edge technology development, which is what is needed from the industry. So CFD traditionally has been written in C, C++ codes or several codes, and the development years for a full-fledged workable code is several years. And writing an in-house code for every application, for every startup or for every company is not possible. So quickly then the reliance on built softwares, commercial softwares grew, but they became very expensive. They have certain restrictions on usage. For example, nuclear embargo. India is not to do nuclear developments, so some of these softwares not made available for us. Okay, so there is severe limitations, both globally driven as well as in-house development time was too long. So OpenFOAM had this perfect bridge that it had inbuilt softwares, inbuilt codes ready to do advanced applications for industry, but it also had the capability of a well-written code where you can go into the code and modify things. You can adapt it to your more innovative applications of physics that you want to implement. Okay, so we wanted to adopt OpenFOAM, teach it to students so that they are equipped, but also train industry people, industries, companies to take up OpenFOAM so that they are recruiting and they can meet their goals. Okay, and as part of this, if students have to learn, then faculties across the country need to engage with them. Okay, so IIT Bombay can be a hub, but if we try and train the entire population, we would not be able to do that. We need the help of faculty right across the country to be able to teach OpenFOAM. So with this idea in play that there is actually an ecosystem that we have to build, FOSSEE went forth with certain initiatives that we had in mind, okay, which were named by Professor Kannan. So with this background in mind, I will just walk you through some of the initiatives that we had started as far as FOSSEE.in is concerned in OpenFOAM, okay, and what are the initiatives, how does it contribute. So one such initiative was actually building tutorials for students to learn right at home, right? So that means we started off with the beginners tutorials, then there is an intermediate tutorial, spoken tutorials, and then we have in pipeline and advanced tutorials in mind, right? We also needed workshops. Why workshops? Because we felt that there is a lot of discussion in OpenFOAM. Okay, there needs to be a community in OpenFOAM for debugging, right? So we need to bring together people who know OpenFOAM very well, who are learning OpenFOAM to get that energy up, right? So we had beginners workshops scheduled. We hold couple of workshops per year. And we also have advanced workshops on specific applications. We also started engaging with industry, okay, like HPCL. We held specific training for them over different modules so that their specific applications can be trained both in a common material available to the entire audience, but also specific material required by the company and their people, okay. We also trained faculty and they had different interests, so we had different people training different things. So this is how we came up with the spoken tutorials material. We also came up with the workshop material. We also initiated something called the case study project, where you can see online we have several case studies. So the case study project promotes students to try any problem they want, okay, and there is a list of problems, a database here, universities, colleges, students from which college have done what. It's not restricted to universities. Industry people can do it, faculty can do it, anybody can do it. So you have a list of different solvers, different community. So you can see here we have done several gust response of porous swing, analysis of OWC under wave conditions, right? Fluid solid interaction. So we are starting to get advanced studies. When we started out, we had some basic studies, but we have now moved on to advanced studies. So there's a lot of case studies happening here. Now, we also have internships. So people who have taken our basic workshops then apply to us with some simple task problem that we assign to them, they do it, and then we select the best ones and we have them over for internships. And what we do with internships is not just restrict them to us, they have the ability to work with people across the country, even in UK. Professor Chandan was guiding a couple of interns for problems of their interest. And we were able to, develop new things. Conference papers, journal papers are coming out of the way, and people even are getting awards, right? So this is not just learning. We are moving into a research phase, and I think this is apt point when the industry has to come in as an industry advisor to tell us what do you need as an industry personnel, what is the cutting edge technology you need, and we are here to develop it for you. In fact, the faculty right across the country, many of them are sitting here, are willing to put in their time to develop, okay. So one is the case study project, one is the research migration project, which Professor Kannan mentioned. Case study can be simple problems. Research migration is actually taking a research paper which has been published and replicating it in OpenFOAM and putting it up in GitHub, right? So you have a code that's workable and doable right across the community for development, okay? The third initiative we have is a lab migration project, okay? So what we understand from students is they need to get, when they're having lab classes, right? Why use commercial software for it? Right? So I want to be able to run my CFD lab course purely, and whatever problem I want, a flow dynamics problem, a heat transfer problem, whatever it is, right? A chemical engineering problem, a biofluids problem, I want to be able to teach them, right? So problems which can be lab trainable, and this can be for companies as well. You can get a set of problems relevant for you as a training module, right? So these are things that we are doing as what is called the lab migration project. Okay, so all of the information that you have in this cfd.fossee.in, these resources are available to the general public, okay, and free of cost. So you can engage with us as well in all of this. Okay, so now coming back to one point that I want to tell you, right? We need to understand what is CFD, what is OpenFOAM. So I'll just briefly tell you why OpenFOAM. So OpenFOAM, there are several stages in CFD, and what OpenFOAM allows you to do compared to any commercial software. When you open up a commercial software, you have to just click a few buttons. You cannot change things. There is only limited changeable capability. So in your industry, if you want to develop something, it is a bottleneck. So OpenFOAM very quickly allows you to type equations for your physics in a way that is just 2-3 lines, which in a normal C++ code would be several hundred lines, right? So that means very quickly you can start implementing any equation that you want within a few minutes if you know what you want to do. Okay, and that is why OpenFOAM has been chosen by FOSSEE. Okay, so what we will try and do is today listen to what people in industry are doing for OpenFOAM. Okay, and you can come back to these resources and see if there are equivalent problems available. If you feel some problem in your industry is not being catered to in your research lab, you can pose it to us. Okay, and what we are trying to do is, as he said, develop a GUI. Now, some people are not comfortable with the terminal typing commands view, right? So we are developing a GUI mainly for the meshing aspects of it. Meshing is trying to get the domain calculations done in the domain, right? So you're going to divide the domain into smaller boxes essentially, but you want to be able to do it the way you want it. And there are some limitations if you are trying to type it in a terminal. So we are trying to first create a GUI for the meshing part of it. We have almost done. Now we are moving on to the rest of the OpenFOAM part of it. Okay. So I think a lot of positive responses we have got for the GUI, because that is really a visual aspect. When you're trying to mesh a geometry or a domain, you want to have a really visual feel of it. And that's what we have created. So that's going forward as well. Okay. So now we have understood that we are training students, we have generated the material, the workshop material. It's now time to engage with the industry. And that is where I think Professor Chandan, with his extensive industry contacts, both national and international, and Professor Kannan with several years of experience with interacting with both the government and the industry, have started this Industry Advisory Council. Okay, and I'm very happy because it's the next step we are moving into. We are engaging with cutting edge research, and today is the start day for that. So I welcome Professor Chandan, and it's the best time, I think, it's the right time. The project now goes to Professor Chandan. He will be heading it and he will be pushing it into areas where we are yet to explore, and we are very excited about this. Okay, so thank you for coming here today, and I'm very happy to see where FOSSEE is heading towards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Janani.